There you go. Huh? I'll never get. This is it. This is as close I'm ever getting to the Claret Jug. How nice is this? And joining me right now in studio, really one of the real top golf personalities there is, and that's David Feherty, of course. You'll see him at the Open Championship, the British Open, which will be on NBC next weekend at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. Of course, he's got his TV show on Golf Channel as well. You see him on Golf Channel, NBC. David, how are you? It's great having you here.
I'm great. Thanks, Joe. Nice to be here.
Appreciate it. Let's start with this because you're from Northern Ireland, and we mentioned, obviously, the Open's at Royal Portrush next week. How big a deal is that to have the Open there?
Oh, it's gigantic. It's just such a little province, and it's been nearly 70 years since it was there. Only there one time before in 1951. And, for me and for pretty much everyone, every Ulster person, I'm not sure that we saw this coming. If it hadn't been for Rory McIlroy and Darren Clarke and Graham McDowell and the way that they've played over the last, 15 years or so, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Mm. Well, I'll tell you what, I as the golf fan that I am, I love the Open Championship for a lot of reasons. First of all, I love watching the golf courses in Europe. It's such a different course than it is here in the United States. And you love getting up in the morning at, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you got golf. Here we go. It's a beautiful thing. So really excited about that. How about looking at, last year, Francisco Molinari won it last year. As you go into the Open this year, we saw Tiger obviously win at the Masters. Brooks, of course, Koepka winning the PGA. We saw Gary Woodland at the U.S. Open. Who do you look at as the favorite going into it next week?
Well, there's an emotional favorite in Rory McIlroy for sure,
right.
And I've got to be very careful as a broadcaster, not to cheerlead there. And
I understand.
It's going to be difficult for me, watching the Northern Irish boys play there. I think Tiger has got a great chance of being in the shake-up. Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson. I kind of like Ricky Fowler. He's overdue, and it's the sort of golf course you don't have to hit it 10 miles. You really will have to hit fairways. We're going to see an Open golf course here that is, it's just exquisite. I was there about 3-4 weeks ago to shoot promos for NBC, and the golf course is like velvet with a lot of rough, and I suspect that you're going to see some rain and some wind as well. It'll be really a proper Open.
I always like that, too, about the Open, is that you watch these guys, like one hole, the sun is out. Next hole, they got, like, the rain gear on.
Yeah.
It's crazy how the weather patterns change, like, 4 or 5 times during a round.
It can, yeah. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the very northeast of the island. And, they call it the Irish Sea. It's pretty much the Arctic.
Yeah. Right. David Feherty with us, of course, as we get ready. It's not this week, but next week at Royal Portrush. It amazes me watching golf now. We just saw the tournament here in Minnesota yesterday with this kid, Matthew Wolff, who was, 6 weeks ago wasn't even a pro. He got in on an exemption, and he winds up winning yesterday. He eagles on 18 to win that tournament. There are so many guys, David, now that can win on the tour on a week-to-week basis. I don't know how many. We've had to have had like 6 or 7 first-time winners this year. It's just amazing the amount of guys that can win on a weekly basis on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, year after year, it seems to get better. The strength and depth is there. It's much more difficult to win a major championship now than it was, 30,
right.
Even 25 years ago when I played. It's amazing just how good these kids are. It's like, people have forgotten how to choke. Yeah. They're not meant to be that good. They're supposed to, wait until they're 30 or, early 30s before they're able to do this stuff. Now they're doing it almost in their teens.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing. There's no doubt about it. A couple guys I want to throw at you. First of all, you mentioned Ricky Fowler. The pressure is building on Ricky to win that major. I think right now, there's a couple other guys you can think of, Lee Westwood, Matt Kuchar, a couple other guys that have never won a major. But you just look at Ricky, and he's been close a number of times. I know he finished second in a lot of different majors over the years. But the pressure's starting to mount on him to win one. How about that, David?
Yeah, it is. He's not 20 anymore. He's getting up, 30-ish. And He's been such a good player. It seems like he's been out there forever.
Right.
And has been in contention. I mean, he's been unlucky on a couple of occasions as well. But there is pressure on Ricky as well. Not as much as there is on the home guys, on on the Northern Irish guys. But I think every major he plays in is, time goes by.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And what's happened to Jordan Spieth, David? I mean, the guy, you watch him, it seems like every time I watch him, he hasn't won in a while. I guess the last one he won was the Open, where was it, at St. Andrews? Is that where it was?
At Birkdale.
Birkdale, that's right, a couple of years ago. That's the last tournament he won. It seems like every time I watch him, he's always good for like putting up like an 8 or having like one or two really brutal holes that kill him. What's happened to Jordan Spieth?
Well, I think Jordan is always going to be a streaky player. He's kind of a victim of that first streak that he had.
Right.
It's impossible to keep up that kind of form. Winning those was it 3 majors, in quick succession, really. He'll be back. He's too talented and too young not to be back. It would surprise me if he doesn't win another one. Again, he's one of the guys that. It wouldn't surprise me to see him in the shake-up next weekend.
Graham McDowell, he's played real well this year. He had a couple down years. He's played real well. He won that tournament down in the Dominican Republic. He got himself into the Open. He's been trying all year to get in. He's from as you mentioned, I think the Port Rush is actually his home golf course.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
How about a guy like him? How do you look at him going into this tournament?
Well, he's fought so hard, as you mentioned, to get into it. I think he would have been devastated had he been home watching that. Really a testament to his, the strength of character that he has. He's immensely popular in the province and around the world. That's one thing, about the Ulster players, the Irish players in general. If you look at Harrington, who's won 3,
right.
They're personable. They're approachable and tremendously popular with golf fans. Graham is going to be under maybe more pressure than anybody else in the tournament because Port Rush is literally his home golf course. Rory is from Hollywood, which is a little closer to where I was from in Bangor, just outside of Belfast, and Darren from Dungannon. Although all 3 of them played Port Rush, obviously on a regular basis, I think Graham is the one that's under the most pressure. All
right, how about Tiger? We saw him win at the Masters this year. He wasn't great at the PGA, a little better at the U.S. Open, still not tremendous there. He got a lot of criticism for not playing between the Masters and the PGA, and he's done that again. I don't think he's playing this week in the John Deere. I don't think he's playing in the Scottish Open. How about Tiger not playing again since the U.S. Open going into the Open Championship?
Yeah, his record speaks for itself. It's no surprise to me that he hasn't played. He just tends to stick to a plan. Once he gets into a rhythm or a routine, you couldn't call it a rhythm because he doesn't play often enough.
Right.
But it is a routine. The only mistake I've ever made with Tiger Woods is underestimating him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. Do you think? Look, he's got 15 majors. Jack has 18. I think he's going to win a couple more tournaments and break Sam Snead's record for the most tour wins. But do you really see him getting 3 more majors, Tiger?
I don't think the odds are with him, but he's defied the odds on many occasions. It wouldn't surprise me that much if he gets there. The thing that people don't realize, he's already well past Sam Snead in terms of 4-round tournaments. Sam won a few events that weren't really what we would call full events these days.
Interesting. Again, David Feherty with us as we get ready for next week's Open Championship, which, of course, will be on NBC, which does a tremendous job with the golf. NBC, CBS, the 2 networks do the best job with the golf. There's no question about it. You also see David when he's got a great TV show that he does on the Golf Channel. You interview so many. I just saw your interview with Condoleezza Rice, which was terrific. You've interviewed so many different golfers over the years. The one you had with Mickelson was outstanding. Who's been the one interview that really maybe you enjoyed more than any other one?
That I enjoyed? Well, I've had so many of them, 150 50 shows or something like that.
Right,
you know.
right.
You mentioned Condoleezza, who was just terrific. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be around a woman like that, so accomplished, so extraordinary. I really, the one that means the most to me is Tom Watson.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's been like a big brother to me over the last, 10 or 15 years, helped me get sober and just a tremendous influence in my life. The one that I enjoyed the most, it might be Bill Russell.
Really? I didn't realize you had interviewed Bill Russell.
Bill
How about
Russell.
that?
Yeah, I mean, I shook his hand, and I had that feeling that I've only ever had it a couple of times before. Like Arnold Palmer was one, where there's a warmth and electricity, and Nelson Mandela was the other, where you know that you're in the presence of greatness. With Bill, you know a great deal more about this than I do. Would he be the greatest winner in the history of American sports?
He's up there. I mean, he's got 11 championships, So, everybody talks about Michael Jordan, and he won 6, and we all know his greatness. But it's hard to dispute Bill Russell as being maybe the greatest winner, as you said.
Yeah,
he's up there. There's no doubt
just
about it.
A wonderful man. It was a joy to be around him. He's funny, wise. He's almost wise beyond his years, and he's had a bunch of years.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
100% right about that. All right, give me a guy, give me a sleeper. We know who the favorites are. We talked about Koepka, DJ, obviously, Tiger, Rory. We know who the guys who are going to be the favorites. Justin Rose, going into this week. But give me a guy that's kind of under the radar a little bit that you think could win this thing next week.
Wow, there's so many. There are kids now that didn't qualify for the Open Championship, as you say, the strength, that could win it.
Right,
It's got to where, it's really difficult to pick a dark horse, if you like. There are so many that could be a possibility. I mean, he's not exactly what you'd call a dark horse, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Gary Woodland in the shake-up again. Yeah.
Wow. Kind of hard. We saw Koepka do it, but it's kind of hard to win 2 majors in the same year.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah. I mean, it's really difficult to win one. But, Gary is the sort of player when he gets gets a little head of steam on, he can put on a show. But having said that, it's the sort of golf course. Royal Portrush is, I was there 3 or 4 weeks ago, as I said. It's in just beyond fantastic condition. The members and the guests have been playing off mats for nearly a year. There isn't a divot on the place, and there's a lot of rough. That combined with the weather, when that rough gets wet, my God, you could lose your dog in it. Yeah, and it's going to take somebody who can hit fairways, and there isn't a level lie on the golf course either, which is one of the things that suits Tiger, because he can mold himself to a slope, better than anybody in history. And
he's maybe the best iron player there is too.
The best putter, the best iron player.
Yeah, right.
Not the best driver, you'd have to say.
Yeah, probably not. And it's not really, when you look at the courses in Europe, they don't really favor, I don't think anyway, the big bombers like Koepka, like DJ. They don't really favor those kind of guys, do they?
No, they don't. Not to the extent that they do here, because they play a little faster. And I saw the long-range weather forecast, which I don't trust.
No, I understand that. Right,
yeah, really. Right. I thought I was in the only job where you can be wrong most of the time and still get paid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Me too, what I do. I'm wrong a lot. Don't worry.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to get some rain, and some wind. It'll be hugely important to hit fairways.
Right.
So, the longer you hit it, the narrower the fairway gets.
Do you like the way, and again, we're talking to the great David Feherty, do you like the way it's set up now that they moved the PGA to, into the second of the majors? It's not in August anymore. They moved the Players to March. Now you got the Open is going to be the final major of the year. Do you like the way they do that now?
I love it. I love it. We've got 5 majors, essentially. The Players.
Right. Yes.
I
would agree.
It's a major championship.
Right.
No matter what people want to call it, it's the best field in golf. The Open is the most varied field, and, probably the second best field in golf. It's... It just with 5 in 5 months, and not overlapping with football and the playoffs getting done before it. It's I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea too. Do you like the rule changes? Do you like being able to leave the stick in on the green?
That's the one that sort of it looks weird to me.
Right, it does look weird a little bit. Yeah,
it does. But they've done it before. Back in I think it was in the 50s or the 60s. They did it. I think the rule changes, all of them are. They're an improvement. There's no question. What I don't like about it is the change in terminology. It's almost like we've got politically correct with that. It's not a hazard anymore. It's a penalty area. Really?
Oh, really? They don't call them. I didn't even realize that. They don't call them hazards anymore?
No, you're not allowed to do that. It's a penalty area.
Okay.
And, it's not dormy anymore in match play. You can't say, 2 up with, or 2 down with 2 to play. It's even. And it's not a half anymore. It's a tie. I don't know why you have to do that.
Yeah. No, that is kind of weird. It's funny watching the golf. I think the 2 guys that always have it in the stick so far, DeChambeau does.
Yep.
And the other one, I think, is Adam Scott. He's been playing with the stick in all year.
Yeah, well, everybody should do it all the time.
You really think that?
DeChambeau actually demonstrated to me, why you should do it all the time. And the other thing that some of the players aren't doing, they're not loosening the stick. You don't want it solid in the hole like that because you don't get as much vibration.
Well, so hold on, let me stop you here. There's a guy who plays a lot of golf. Not that I'm any good, but and I'll leave the stick in. Like if I got like about a long 35-foot putt or something, I'll leave the stick in. If I got a 4-footer, I usually take it out. But you said something interesting. Why do you think you should leave it in? And how about you said you should loosen the stick? How about that?
Yeah, well, if you jam it down into the hole, it's kind of a solid post that doesn't vibrate. It doesn't absorb the amount of shock.
Interesting.
That it does when it's kind of set in there gently. And, Bryson, demonstrated to me that, the ball can be going up to, 4 or 5 feet past, and if it hits the stick, it'll still go in. But if it hits the back of the hole, it'll jump up and stay out. And there's no one more scientific. I mean, it was
that.
Yeah. I mean, he showed me. It was demonstrable. The way that he did it, just made sense to me. And for me, the hole just seems bigger when the stick is in it.
Really?
Especially when it's it seems more accessible, if you like. Because you'll see if a ball lips out, or if it horseshoes, something like that. Sometimes it won't. Touch the stick or whatever. But if it touches the stick at all, it's going in.
I like that. I'm like that. So the odds say to keep the stick in.
Absolutely.
Even for a little 3-foot putt or whatever it is.
Yep.
Wow. I'm going to have to start doing that as well. All right, David Feherty with us. And again, now your coverage will start Thursday, right? Next Thursday?
Yeah.
And NBC will now give me how it's going to start. When will we start seeing the beginning? They're going to show the entire tournament on NBC on Golf Channel, I guess, first, right?
Well, it'll be flag to flag on both. Well, we've got the Scottish Open coming up first, which is an interesting precursor for it.
Always is. Just like the Irish Open was this past week with Rahm winning. A great field they had there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the guys that are over there, getting themselves acclimatized to it, for most of them, I think it's a good idea. Some players like to play the week before a major, some don't.
Right.
But, the coverage will be really comprehensive. I don't know how many hours we're on the air, but it's a long time. If you want to get up early in the morning, you can watch golf all day.
I love that. I think that's tremendous. And I guess we'll have Dan Hicks and Azinger as the leaders.
That's right.
The lead voices, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I have no difficulty getting up early in the morning. I pee 4 times a night. Two of them in the toilet.
I understand. Yeah. I get that. I get that, David. Believe me, I'm well versed in that whole deal. No doubt about that. Really excited to look. I'm really looking forward to this. I like I said, I love the golf. I'm a big golf guy. I wish I was a better player, but that probably could be said for everybody. And there is the claret jug, as I mentioned. I got pictures with it before. It's the closest I'm ever getting to it, David.
Yeah. Well, I got kind of halfway close to it a couple of times, but I'm surprised the R&A have given me control over it here, although I am wearing an ankle bracelet. Yeah, if I get more than 50 yards away, that lights me up.
I understand. Now, you were on a tour for how long? You were on a tour for a while.
Well, the best part of 20 years.
You were, right?
Yeah.
And how many tour wins did you have?
I had 5 in Europe and 5 elsewhere around the world.
Well, that's 10. That's not bad.
Well, I had ups and downs. I was never going to be one of those really top echelon players. I didn't have the work ethic. I feel like I spent 20 years as an apprenticeship to get into television.
Yes, I get that. I really do. Well, David, I appreciate you coming in, man, and bringing the claret jug. David Feherty, you watch him next week. He'll be at Royal Portrush for the British Open. You got to call it the Open Championship. No more British Open now.
Well, it's actually the Open. They don't even want the British Open anymore.
That's what I said. It's just the Open Championship now, right?
Well, no, it's just the Open.
Not even Championship.
No, it's gone from the British Open to the Open Championship to the Open. Next year it'll be the. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, who you got winning this? Give me a winner. Throw me your name.
Ricky Fowler.
You really think that, huh?
Yeah, I just have a feeling that he's going to, he's
right.
due. I don't know why. I'd love to see Rory do it, obviously.
Right. Well, he's due he's won twice this year. He won the Players.
Yes.
He won in Canada.
Yes.
So, but he hasn't won a major in a while either, so he's due to win one.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
David Feherty, thank you.
Thanks for having me on,
And
Joe.
by the way, not just the Open next week, but check out David's TV show because it's terrific on Golf Channel. What time are you on again? Because you're on a bunch of different hours, right?
It's 9:00 Eastern, I think, on a Tuesday.
Is that
Monday? It's on a Monday. I don't know. I mean, I'm there when I do it, so I don't watch it. Yeah.
9:00 on a Monday. Check David's show.
Yeah.
It's a terrific show. David Feherty, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Beningo in the midday. Evan on vacation. We'll break here. We'll be back with more after this.